Road Rash 3 is the third and final installment of the 16-bit era of the series and was released solely for the Mega Drive in 1995. There would not be another Road Rash game until Road Rash 3D, which was released 3 years later, exclusively on the Sony PlayStation. I'm not going to waste any more time introducing this game as we already know what we're getting into here, so let's get this review underway. Welcome to the final episode of Classix Review Remastered. This is Gamerbhoy talking here and this is Road Rash 3 for the Sega Mega Drive. Enjoy. Booting up the game, we're presented to the title screen followed by the main menu. The main menu of the game is virtually identical to that of Road Rash 2. I suppose if it was already easy to navigate in the previous installment, why amend it? There are a few different changes to this installment, and one of the biggest changes was locations. While Road Rash 1 had you exclusively racing across various areas of California and Nevada, and Road Rash 2 had you racing across various states across North America, Road Rash 3 goes international, as you now have to race across various different countries. The initial 5 locations that you're presented with are Brazil, United Kingdom, Germany, Italy and Kenya, with Japan and Australia being swapped in and out after entering level 2 onwards. Don't expect this to add or take away any challenge to the game, as just as it was in Road Rash 1 and 2, it's purely cosmetic. All game modes are unchanged, so the focus of the game is the same as it's always been. Qualify in 5 different races, and only then can you rank up to the next level. The maximum level in the game is level 5. Each level will randomise the order in the locations you race, and will also swap out one location and add in another, as well as increasing the length of the tracks. The split-screen 2-player mode has made its return in this game, and nothing has changed except from the mano-a-mano mode. Instead of only having a couple of weapons to choose from a la Road Rash 2, Road Rash 3 brings in a whole arsenal of different weapons for you to use. The weapons now range from oil cans, cans of mace, nunchucks and many more. There's always the classic baseball bat as well, probably the most common weapon in the game and likely the first weapon that you will use. And these aren't exclusive to 2-player either. You can grab these weapons throughout the single-player mode as well, although it can be a little bit tricky to do and you have to make sure you're not carrying a weapon when you attempt to steal one from an opponent. Also included on top of buying a new bike is the ability to upgrade the one that you already own. I found this to be very convenient as it's much cheaper than forking out for a new bike overall, and sometimes it's all you need to do if you can barely scrape a qualifying position. The password system remains as easy as it was in Road Rash 2 with only 8 characters required. However, I would have liked to be able to save my progress to some sort of battery, as there were plenty of games out around this time that used it, including FIFA Soccer 96, Micro Machines 2 Turbo Tournament and various different RPGs such as Phantasy Star 4. So with it being this late into the Mega Drive's life cycle, I was slightly disappointed, though it was just a negligible level of disappointment. I still keep a slip of paper inside the game's box in order to keep track of my legitimate progress in the game. I know I'm only on level 2, but I only play it casually these days. If you've played any of the other Road Rash games, then you'll know exactly how to play Road Rash 3. There were only a few gripes I had with the controls unfortunately, but they aren't massive complaints. While they maintained every button command in this game as they did in Road Rash 1 and 2, I wish they would have at least allowed 6 button controller support. For example, in order to do a stronger attack to your opponent, it was always hold up and press C. For Road Rash 3, I would have much preferred it if they added the ability to do the same attack by hitting either X, Y or Z. The same applies to the kick button, which you had to hold the down button and press C to do. It's nitpicky, but I do feel the 6-button controller didn't get much use when it could have, and this game would have been perfect for it, especially in 1995. I know I said each track was different in terms of how it looks alone, but there were a few different kinds of obstacles to note as well. For example, Whilst racing in Kenya, you can run into zebras and rhinoceroses, and in Australia, you can find kangaroos in the middle of the road as well. Another thing I spotted was, depending on the country you race in, the side of the road in which other vehicles drive on changes too. For example, in the United Kingdom, Australia and Japan, all the cars drive on the left hand side of the road as they do in real life, in contrast to other places such as Brazil and Germany where everyone drives on the right hand side of the road. I know it's not noteworthy, but it was nice that they included that little bit of authenticity to the game, even if it was something so insignificant. As you play the game, and just like in the previous installments, you will find yourself earning money and buying better bikes in order to keep up with other racers. I looked casually to see what the most expensive bike was in the game, and while I thought it was the Diablo 1000, it is, according to the game, if you play it legitimately. But if you enter one of specific passwords into the game, you get a bike known as the Wild Thing 2000, a secret bike that was hidden in previous installments, and Jesus tap dancing Christ, it is not a recommended pick. I experimented with this bike for just 2 races and absolutely destroyed myself while racing in the Japan track. And I tried again on another track, and instead of wrecking my bike, I hilariously crashed near a police officer and got busted. This bike may be the fastest bike in the game, but it is by far, from my experience, the worst handling. You only need to tap the D-pad and the bike will go flying to one side. It's a very challenging bike to control, and one I challenge any Road Rash owner to attempt. Speaking of cops, as well as police motorcycles, you can also encounter police cars and even what looks like a police helicopter as well. This brings the challenge of escaping police officers in the game that little bit higher, and I much enjoyed it for this installment. Graphically, there has been an improvement. The sprites were noticeably improved, as it appears that the developers took the high quality sprites that were seen in Road Rash for the PlayStation and brought it onto Road Rash 3. I was also pleased to see such diversity in each of the stages as well, from overcast skies in the UK to a dim-lit sunset in Japan. All the levels look different and I really enjoyed this aspect. The comical storyboards make their return to this game, and they're just as fun to watch as they were in Road Rash 2. I will never get sick of those. Also unique to each location was the music, but because these are international locations, each track represents the respective country in some way. For example, you can hear just the first 2 seconds of Rule Britannia before it kicks into a percussion number on the United Kingdom track. While Road Rash 1 still contains my favourite soundtrack of the series, Road Rash 3's soundtrack is not that bad at all. All 3 games have a good soundtrack, which is in contrary to my previous opinions, as I have learned to enjoy them over the years. I have found myself whistling along to these tracks, I have to admit. The audio itself, decent. Various different sound effects were slightly improved, including the sounds you make when you hit an opponent. Instead of a low bass thud that you heard in Road Rash 1 and 2, EA opted to go for the classic punching sound effect that we are all used to hearing in old cartoons and movies. You know the sound I'm talking about. But there's always that elephant in the room that I just can't quite understand, and it's the hairdryer itself, the sound of the bike engines. If you've heard one of the other reviews of previous Road Rash games, you know I cannot stick the noise of those bike engines. They sound so atrocious. Music on is self-explanatory, but if you turn the music off, you are left to hear the noise of the bikes themselves, which are cancer to the ears. How are you supposed to put yourself in the moment and think that you can hear a motorcycle? I can't hear it, can you? Unfortunately, the bike engines don't sound any better than the previous game, and they still sound like nails on a chalkboard. It's absolute garbage. I'll just opt to stick to hearing the music over it. In conclusion, Road Rash 3 sealed a perfect franchise on the Mega Drive, and all three of them are a fantastic trilogy to have in your collection. It took everything that was great about each of the previous two installments and just perfected it in all manners. It's arguably the best Road Rash in the 16-bit era, but I will always prefer Road Rash 1. That's not to say the other two are bad, far from it. I've just grown so used to Road Rash 1 over the years, and I'm not nearly as attached to Road Rash 2 or 3 as I am with Road Rash 1. It doesn't stop any of the games from being amazing fun to play both on your own and with a friend. It's my favourite set of racing games on the system as a whole, and unless someone re-releases them in some way, they will never, ever be surpassed. And that's pretty much as good as a review as it's going to get for me, so thanks for taking the time to watch it. This has been Gamerboy talking here, talking to you on Gamerboy Gaming, where I play the games that you need to have. Thanks again, leave a comment, like or subscribe if you wish, and I'll see you on the next video. Have a good one.